Hi folks, Jennifer Nelson here with Pocket Hours. Pocket Hours is the only podcast made by realtors for realtors. Come listen as I interview high producing brokers to hear their best practices. And don't forget that while you are listening, you are also earning clock hour credit. Tune in every other week to hear from someone new, and please remember to tell your broker friends about Pocket Hours so more folks can elevate their business. Be the agent you would hire. Looking forward to having you listen in. Hi folks, Jennifer Nelson here with Pocket Hours. Today I interview the lovely and talented team of Everywhere Northwest. Carmin Russell began her real estate career a while ago, and then she brought on Hattie and Logan to her team, and they are kicking ass and taking names, folks. They are out there doing many, many deals a year, and the way she started and how she got her business rolling, and now the kind of the power of this team together is a pleasure to hear about, and both her drive and now their combined expertise in really providing great service to their clients, but really how that started in a unique way is what I'm excited for you to hear about. So without further ado, here is Everywhere Northwest. I am super excited for you to meet this kick-ass team in real estate and have them on the show. First of all, I just want to say a hearty welcome to Carmin and Hattie and Logan, and they are with Everywhere Northwest team. So welcome to the show.
Hello.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. So I've known Logan in our past lives. We worked at the same firm, so it's been a little while, but it's great to see your face, Logan.
Good to see you too.
Good. And Hattie and Carmin, you all tell us a little bit, first of all, about how Everywhere Northwest came into being.
Yeah, happy to. So I've been a solo agent for a long time. Jennifer, I don't know if actually you remember, I met you a long time ago when I first started and you were starting Metropolis. And
yes.
It was a long time ago. Yeah. So, and then Hattie, I've known her for a while and she wanted to get into real estate. So then we teamed up. I had no intention of growing whatsoever at that point. But it really was great to see her grow with everything I have learned through my career. So I just kind of took her under my wing, taught her everything I know, and I've seen her flourish and do amazing. And it kind of motivated me to start a team. And now we have Logan and we're hiring and bringing on more people.
Nice. How exciting. And so when was that? When did this begin? What year?
2021.
All right.
Yeah, summer
Very
2021.
Cool. Excellent. Mm-hmm. And you began real estate what year though? How long have you been doing solo?
2014.
2014. Okay.
Yeah.
Right on. Well, quite a success story here, and that's exciting news for you all as you're growing so rapidly. And we're going to get to a little bit about how that happened. But before we do, I would love for each of you to just say a little bit about yourselves, partners, kids, anything else we want, just so that listeners can get to know you a little bit more. So Logan, why don't you go first?
Hi, everyone. I'm Logan Tice. I have been in real estate since 2016. I don't have any kids, so my entire life is real estate.
Okay.
Yeah.
You have a pooch though, don't you? You've got a dog.
I do. His name is Harvey, and he is a handful.
That's your kid, right? Excellent.
That's my kid.
Right on.
Yeah.
Good. Hattie.
I'm Hattie McMann, and I've been in real estate since 2021. So very new.
Mm-hmm.
I do not have any kids either. I have two dogs, Coco and Baby, and hopefully they don't bark. Let's just put that out that way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right on.
I'm married and I have 3 furry children, a cat and 2 dogs. Okay. And yeah.
That's great. Right on. I love it. You guys are the ability to kind of go for real estate. You've got not a lot holding you back there. You got to feed the dogs and the cats, but then you can get after it. I love it. That's very cool.
Exactly.
And the husband, every once in a while.
Oh yeah, that's true. Him too. Forgot about him. Sorry.
Oh, and sometimes Carmin feeds me too.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Hey, that's a good setup. We like that.
Yeah. Works out.
Hey, Logan.
Yeah. So a little bit for listeners that have started. So some of the focus of this podcast is to have people that are brand new in the business say, hey, we want to hear from people who started off however long ago, whether recently or a long time ago, and have them put themselves back in the beginning in mindset and share a little bit about how you think it went for you, what you were afraid of, what sort of got you going in the business as an encouragement to people who are saying, wow, don't know if real estate's for me. I got in, I got my license, but I'm a little bit freaked out. So take me back for a minute to when you started and what that looked like.
So when I first started here in Seattle in 2014, I was brand new. I didn't know a person, right, other than my husband and his family who's from here. So I obviously had to start my network. And so the very first thing I did was essentially join a social club, the Columbia Tower Club, which I'm still a member of. And then I started hosting open houses every single weekend. I would do sometimes 4 to 8 open houses a week. Wow. And I did that every single week for almost 2 years. Wow. And that's really how I got started, was just doing that. And it took me a while to get into the real estate mindset, to be completely honest. Like I knew that I was in real estate, but I didn't necessarily know how that was going to work out for me in the long term. So,
yeah, makes sense. I love that. So sometimes 8 open houses a week. Wow, that's a commitment. Good for you. But I bet you got really good at them as a result, right? I mean, this is the practice of it, talking to people and asking good questions, and cool. And Hattie, your new is still part of your beginning. You're still new, right?
So you can sort of very new.
Yeah. So speak from your experience that's happening even right now.
Yeah. So when I actually wanted to get into real estate, your mind is set on what you've seen on television, right? Regardless of what it is, you know what I mean? I wouldn't say Selling Sunset. I'm not going to go there. That wasn't, but you know, there's other things on TV, and there's definitely a different perspective of what it is and what's reality. And so I kind of did know some of that. So I was like, I don't want to jump in and just go out there and do it. I just did not feel confident in doing that. I'm like, I think I need to go learn from someone. I applied to a few people as like an assistant, which I ended up being assistant for someone on the east side, but it was under the brokerage. So she ran 8 brokerages, and then I was her assistant. And we would do like new agent seminars and all of that stuff. So even though I was working for her on that end, I was getting all the education on the back end on that part of it all. But then it came to a point where I wanted to go off on my own. And I did. And I did for about July to maybe, I think September is finally when Carmin and I hooked up. And Carmin and I had talked forever. Even before I got my license and during that time. And when I was working for the other person, I worked for them for 2 years. And as soon as I joined her, I could not tell you how much I learned from her right in the beginning. And that honestly, from September to into that new year is when I learned the majority of what I've done. And then all last year, I sold 14 homes in my first year under Carmin and her guidance. Yeah. So, it was scary, but I didn't jump in right away. You know what I mean? I had a little backing. So mine was a little bit different, but it still was scary going out on my own. And even, working for someone else, I learned so much. And it was, and it's still scary to this day. Every time you pick up the phone, every time you talk to someone, no matter how confident you are in what you know, it's still going to be that way. It's someone new every time.
And Logan, I knew you when you first started. I love it.
Yeah.
Logan and I worked at the same firm. So cool. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So my real estate journey started off similar to Carmin's. I moved up here from Southern California, didn't know a single soul. Carmin and I actually met at my very first brokerage, Keller Williams. And, that first year was tough. What I learned was there's a lot of noise. There's a lot of people telling you to do something this way. Oh, this works. Do this. So I did that for a while. I didn't sell a single home my first year. I couldn't find a method that worked for me because first and foremost, we're in a people business. It has to be genuine. It has to be something that you're comfortable with and that you feel good about. So it took me a while to wade through all of the advice that buzzes around and slaps you in the face. And then I discovered open houses were the best way for me to meet people. It was just natural, and it was just easy. And that's kind of where it started getting real for me that second year. And then when I went to Metropolis, a lot of things changed for me. It completely changed my mindset. And I think that was due to just the environment of the brokerage and the support that everyone gives you. You got to surround yourself with people who sell houses, but people that will also support you.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So,
Amen.
and now I'm here.
Hey, I love it. I love it. I love it. And for listeners, sometimes I recap just a little bit, because as you're listening to this podcast, you're driving or you're working out or whatever you're doing. And I'm going to say some things over again that they've just said, just to keep it really in your head. But joining social clubs, putting yourself out there to meet other people in things that you already like, that you already do, that's authentic to you. And then you get to say, oh, and by the way, I sell real estate, right? So that you already have a commonality. I love that. Doing open houses, there's no way around it. If you hate them, let's find another path for you. But if you can learn how to do them well, that is an amazing way it's a target rich environment. That's what we call open houses, right? Like they're already there looking for a house. Being an assistant, joining a team, looking to find mentorship, super important. Finding your own path. I mean, Logan, I think that was well said, just that there's lots of people telling you what to do, right? And so like, hey, who am I and how does this show up authentically? So thank you. Those were awesome answers. Okay, so that's the beginning part for each of you. And then you're coming together and you're Everywhere Northwest team, and you all have sort of a specific niche, if I can say. And if I'm wrong, correct me, but you have a pretty big lead generation business that you pay for. Am I on track with that? Yes. Okay, so tell us a little bit about what drew you to that and how that works for you.
Zillow. I have been a Zillow partner for a long time. I know that our industry has a love-hate relationship with Zillow.
Yeah.
And I can tell you that my journey with Zillow was definitely hate in the beginning, because everybody kept telling me like, oh, Zillow is like, not that great, this and that. And it took me a while to get to a place where I can see the reward that Zillow does give you, right? Like they do work with you. They want you to succeed, but you have to be open to it. And so I kind of just decided to put my hands down and just, okay, fine, let's go through this. Like really, so I did go through all of the training and really took the time to learn how to turn over all of the leads that I was getting at that point. I tell everybody that is thinking about going into Zillow that when I first started working with Zillow, the leads were very inexpensive. They were a couple $100, if that. Where now, if you want to get into Zillow, it's several thousand, depending in the area that you're in. And so people do get discouraged. So I think that my advantage was starting with them so early and being open to all of their training and learning, paying for a lot of mistakes, essentially. But it's definitely made me so much better at turning over online leads. And I tell everybody, once you learn how to turn over online leads, you can turn over any lead. You can honestly, just becomes easier for you to work with an open house lead, with a referral. Everything is just easier.
Yeah, because that's kind of the hardest one to do, right? To learn. So once you got that one, got it. So let's talk for a minute about the conversion rate. So you pay X number of dollars a month to Zillow for them to pass you X number of leads a month. The math has to work for this to make sense. And clearly it's working really well for you. So tell me a little bit about that. Like how's that go?
We have several zip codes. And so I make sure that we're very diversified as to where we put our marketing dollars. And I pay attention to inventory. I pay attention to where we're getting the most traffic from. And sometimes I will pivot. There are some times where we'll go north and sometimes we'll go south or west. It's very hard to get into the east side because that is obviously the more expensive part of town. So that area is always bought out. So I tend to stick to Seattle. And so that's how we pay attention to the leads we get in. Once we have the leads, obviously, it's like any lead. We have to nurture it. Sometimes I have found that these leads are more ready to go than any other lead source you're going to get. Because they're actively looking, and there's a lot of research out there now that shows that people that are looking on Zillow or at realtor.com, they've been thinking about buying a home. They've been doing the research. They've been reading the blogs. They are far more aware of the real estate market than an open house lead. So it is why we have to be super attuned with what they're reading everything. So that way, when we meet the lead, we can kind of squash all of that right away.
Yeah,
right.
For sure. You know, we talk here at Scout in my brokerage that when someone says to you, we're thinking of buying in the next year, what that really means is that we're thinking of buying in the next 90 days. They just don't know it yet, right? Because all they need is someone to take the lead and help them get there. But the sort of we're putting it off is just the safety measure of, hey, let's not be in a hurry. But what they really want is good leadership. I love it. That's great.
Yeah.
So throughout the months, you kind of change the zip code, or do you have a certain zip code that you always have?
Yes, 98122 has been like my holy grail. It is my favorite zip code because it has like low end. So you have co-ops, you have condos, and then you have high end, right? So you have a big diversity of type of property. And everybody wants to live in Capitol Hill. So we meet a lot of people that start there, and then we'll take them north, we'll take them south, we'll take them everywhere. But people always kind of want to discover Capitol Hill. I have been number one at 98122 for several years.
Nice.
And every time that they open up the zip code, I will buy it altogether.
Got it.
Because that kind of minimizes my competition, right?
Yeah, right. And that's a business model that's unique, I think, to you. I mean, certainly there are others joining the bandwagon later, but you sort of were an early adopter in that, and it's worked out for you. Let's talk for a minute, and I'd love to hear from all of you on this. Why hasn't it worked for other people? What's different about Everywhere Northwest that makes this so successful? Because there's a ton of people that have tried, and I'm going to put that in air quotes for the listeners. I'm doing big air quotes right now, tried buying leads from whatever source and have failed. Why do you think you're successful at it? Hattie, you're ready. I want to hear your answer.
Ready. I am ready. I'll tell you why. Like Carmin had already said, we're educated. We know we're talking about, we're reading everything. We're listening to everything. We're really in tune with all of that. But we're also authentic. When we're on the phone, we get to know that client and we follow up. We do not let them slip through the cracks. It's genuine follow-up. You guys do not understand how long we sit behind our computers or on our phones daily following up. We're not sending out email blasts. Not what we're doing. We are touching every person personally. That's what, and Carmin taught me that, mind you. I'm giving her this credit. I'm not taking that. But that is why we're successful.
Okay. You want to add either one of you? Yeah. Well, hey. And I want to just stop before I let either of you answer that question, which I want to hear from both of you. But Hattie just nailed it on the head for the listeners, especially you newbies. If you're getting into real estate because you think you're going to make a whole bunch of money and sit back and, have your 10-hour week. Yeah. Logan's wagging his finger in the screen. That is not this business. If you want to be successful, this is hard work, period. It's hard work. And your success shows that, right? The fact that you work so hard. So let's go back to that question. What Everywhere Northwest, thank you, Hattie's given us some answers. Why does it work for you and not for others?
Follow up. It is 1,000% follow up. And I think that everybody has heard you need to follow up, but the industry has not taught us enough about how to follow up. And it's so funny because now, it was definitely hammered into my head from the very beginning. I had to follow up. And so I hired a coach. So anybody who's listening and you're brand new, you need to hire somebody that knows more than you if you don't join a team. So I decided to hire a coach, and I tested all of the follow-up he was giving me that works for other people. And eventually I just turned it into my own. Now that is what I use for, my follow-up. And I do think that everybody's follow-up is going to be a little bit different, but I do think that one thing that all brokers should do is get away from just sending listings. Nobody should be doing that. I think that buyers, that's how we're taught, right? We're taught to send listings, but we have to think about how the buyer now looks for properties. They're on their phone. They sometimes know about properties before we do.
For sure. For sure.
So in reality, we're doing them a disservice by sending them listings. What they want to know is your expertise. And you have to learn how to set yourself apart from everybody else. And that's how it is instead of sending a listing, you're going to send them, hey, here's what I heard today about X and Y. Everybody has a different concern. So I always go for the concern with my follow-up and how we can fix it.
I love it. That's great. Sending listings is what everyone's doing, like you just said. And it is one of the reasons why I think realtors are looked at as a commodity and why we're easily disposed of and moved on to another realtor. Because there's nothing to grab onto. Like everybody's doing the same thing. They send me listings, but it's the one who digs in and creates a relationship with that person, gives them something of value, right? That then they're like, oh, well, now that's different, right? Now I'm this is my realtor instead of this is just someone sending me listings. I love that difference. Logan, what do you think besides what they've said? Pocket Hours is brought to you by Scout Real Estate. Hi, I'm Jennifer Nelson, owner at Scout Real Estate. I started this firm with the vision of doing things differently, with our focus on legendary service for our clients and creating a community of producing agents to spur each other to do higher quality work. If you are interested in learning more about how a small group of like-minded brokers have come together to have some fun while doing a lot of business, reach out to me, 206-227-7966, or email jennifer@scoutrealestate.com. I promise you this, fun is a high priority for me, but so is winning. So if you appreciate those two things, you might be interested in Scout. Looking forward to hearing from you.
I'm still very new and still learning how to deal with online leads. It's not something that I've ever done. And Carmin she harps on me all the time, which is great on this follow-up. It's not as easy as you would think it is. I find sometimes I get discouraged when my leads don't answer me or they don't accept me as their realtor right off the bat. But to Carmin's point, if you follow up, they almost always come back and engage with you. So that's something that I've personally had challenges with. Is I'm in my head, oh God, I don't want to be annoying, I don't want to do this. But if you have something genuine to talk to them about, oh, hey, this awesome new restaurant on Capitol Hill just opened, or something involving them, what they tell you on your first phone call or something like that. If you can be genuine in the content that you're touching them with, they respond well to it.
Yeah. And I want to just say, it seems like it's a no-brainer because don't we all, right? Like, don't we all? When someone calls us about us, we're all in, right? Someone calls me and says, hey, I have a daughter who's 7, her name's Ruthie. And someone says, I saw a picture of her playing soccer, and they call me and say how cute she is. I'm like, I love that person, right? Because they're caring about what I care about, which is right. It's a hook for sure. Love it. So tell me a little bit about the conversion rate. Let's just take raw numbers. We don't have to talk about your exact numbers, but what is your rate? So you have X number of leads coming your way. How many of those become your clients? And then the follow-up question is, how many of them stay your clients? Meaning, once you've sold them a house, are they one and done for you, or are you keeping a database going?
We have a database. We definitely do. I'm big on that. But our conversion is actually amongst the highest within all of Zillow. So much so that now I'm, brokerages from all over the country that are with Zillow do call me and ask me about follow-up, which is amazing. And which also gave me the confidence to start a team, right? Like, hey, I've nailed this follow-up, so I should definitely be teaching this and start a team. So for every 5 leads we can get, one will be under contract. The other one will be looking for the next 3 months. And then the other 3 will turn over within 6 months to a year. But we have so many leads that we're constantly churning and we're constantly following up with people.
I'm taking notes. So yes, I love it. That's great.
They all stay our clients. I mean, just yesterday, I had drinks with a client that I sold a home to a year ago.
Nice.
And she wanted to introduce me to her college friend who is working with this very notable Seattleite. And now I might be working with her too, which is super exciting. But see, it's all because you follow up and you're constantly in front of them. And yeah, so it's great.
I love it.
I think with what she was saying about our past clients too, I mean, we're always touching them, even just checking in, like the power goes out on Capitol Hill. We're texting our clients, hey, are you okay? Do you need anything? You know, it's those little things, we think about them all the time. And again, with follow-up, like we have them in our calendars, you know, every 3, like after, you know, they close 3 months, 6 months, you know, checking in on them. So we drop by and we still treat them as our active clients.
Got it. I love that. Great point. You know, there's a lot of brokers that do the one and done situation, sort of hamster wheel, like who's my next client, who's my next client, who's my next client, not recognizing that your next client is embedded in the client you're currently working with, right? That's your referral base. I think I've quoted Rosemary Pham before on the show, but I'm going to quote her again and to say she's like shine and escrow, right? So that there is a follow-up system after they've closed that says, how's your new house in 6 months? How, you know, are you settling in? And a year, here's the picture of you in front of the house that you bought with me. And they're staying in their life so that, of course, when they need to move again, they're going to call you, but more importantly, when there's others in their life that need real estate. So listeners, be so sure to do the Everywhere Northwest specialty, which is what I just wrote down, which is follow up, stay in their lives. I love it. That's great.
And more than that, not just their house anniversaries, I have to add, like it is everything. Like if they told us their birthday or if we have it, we're going to text them on their birthday. If we know that they love tacos, then we're going to tell them, I just tried this taco, you need to try it. You know, like it's amazing or whatever it is. I mean, these guys have heard me say it, like I have gone to weddings, I've gone to divorce parties, I go to baby showers, I go to everything that goes on in their life.
Yeah. Say yes. I love it. That's really good. All right. This is sort of a little bit, I'm going to throw a curveball your way, but I know you have stories because you've been doing business long enough. So what is something strange, funny, unique, weird that you've encountered in our industry? I'll tell my story first. I was showing a house and I'm showing the whole place and we get to the bathroom and the bathroom has all of these naked, like glamour shots of the couple up on the walls, right? Everywhere. Like the agent hopefully they didn't walk in and were like, yeah, let's leave those up. Right. So apparently they didn't see the bathroom because with my clients, we were like, whoa, like we just got to know the sellers way more than we wanted to know them. But, and then I think I can say this because it's my show, but I was listing these gay boys' house, friends of mine, and I had to de-penis the house is what I said. Because I knew Logan would love that.
I know how that goes.
Yeah. There was really great art and there were, at least 8 photos of penises throughout that house. And I had to say, hey, I know you love them, but let's calm down on that artwork for now. So there, I bought you some time to think of your story, but what comes to mind when you think of something weird that's happened?
I was just talking about this with another broker in our office yesterday about like the embarrassing stories that I have. I have way too many, too many to count. But 2 that come into mind was one, it was a listing that the concierge, you had to get the key from the concierge and there was no key box. So they have to get it from wherever their key bank is. He gave me the wrong key.
Okay.
And so I was like, oh, well, I guess it's maybe this one, the one next to it. So I followed the key direction. I opened the door and we walk in and somebody's taking a shower and we're like, anyway, I know.
You're like, hey, is your house for sale?
Oh, it was horrible.
Oops.
So we literally ran out. So that one was embarrassing.
For sure. Yeah.
And then the second one was right in 2019 when we still were not using showing time a lot and we just kind of went through the notes, right? So it's vacant, you can just walk in. We walk in and it says it was staged, and we're like, this is a very, very funky staging, very interesting. So we're immediately critiquing, talking crap about the staging.
Okay.
And somebody was in the property and goes like, hello. And we're like,
no.
oops, sorry.
Oopsie. I mean, we love your couch.
It's amazing. We didn't say
Yeah,
that chair
that's
looked like a
right.
Hobbit chair.
No, I love it. Yes.
Mhm.
And nowadays, with all the recording devices people have, I feel like, good grief, right? We have to be really careful to what we say, but I love it. That's fun. This market's strange. Logan, anything come to mind?
Just similar stories of
Yeah.
people just not getting out of the house for the showing. It's
Right.
mortifying.
Yes.
Not
yes.
just for the person who's living there, but that happens frequently, and I'm sure it's happened to all of us at least once or twice.
For sure.
I just had that happen. They said that no one was there. They won't be there. They're out of town. They were there. They're like, oh, we had to come pick up some stuff. And it was a little like, okay.
Yeah. So awkward.
Yeah.
Awkward. We don't like those situations.
Yeah.
Okay, let's switch gears just for a minute. This is being recorded at the end of April in 2023 for listeners who listen years to come. So talk for just a minute about market. It's weird right now, in my opinion. That's my word. How would you describe the market? I know you have that question when clients come to you and say, hey, what's going on out there? What are you saying right now?
I'm telling everybody that this to me seems like a normal market. Jennifer, you remember 2019, it was kind of a funky market, right? Yeah. There was a lot of talk about recession, interest rates were going up. That summer, I remember being like, what is going to happen? Things are really funky. And that's kind of like the market that we've been in since last summer, right? Like it was super funky. It felt like 2019 all over again.
Yeah.
But that's why I was like, okay, this is normal. And now this market we're in right now, where we're seeing multiple offers all over again, I feel like this is a normal spring market that I'm used to. Prior to the pandemic, I was still talking to clients about interest rates and all of that, and the crazy market prices and a potential housing crash, which has been like the theme of my career, is talking to people about this.
Right.
So anyway, I'm back to that. And to me, it's normal.
When I say weird, I think I'm talking about the fact that it seems like the spring market starts in January most of the time for us. Yeah. So maybe delayed is a better word, as that interest rate caught up with a few people. But it's like, oh, here we are, right? Like, oh, yeah, it's April. But usually it seems like for the last several years that people are on it January 1, like, let's go, right? And 7% set them back a little bit, I think. But any other comments with the market? Yeah.
Yeah. So there was like a week or two in January. Carmen and I were really busy and we got stuff under contract. And we're like, oh, here we go. And then all of a sudden it shut down. So we had like a little glimpse into the spring, what you're talking about. Yeah. And we got a couple of things under contract each. And it was like, okay, sweet, let's go. And then, then it got delayed. But now we're back and busy.
Full swing. Yeah. So two other concepts I want to talk to you about and hear from you on. And one is going to be teams. We're going to talk about that first. And then the second, kind of in direct correlation to that, is going to be, how do you find time for your life in the midst of your real estate life? And everybody's smiling right now because they're like, what's that? We don't know what that means. But so talk to us a little bit about balance in a minute. But first talk about this. Why is it important for you to be on this team? What's good about teams? And what do you think are the downsides about teams?
Yeah. Who wants to start?
I'll go because I'm pro team. So I clearly had tried to go on my own, right? And it did not work out. It's very, very hard. But since day one of starting on a team, I've grown so much. I've learned so much about myself, about the industry. I think it was the best thing I could have done. And this is long-term. I'm not just getting on a team to build my business and run off. That's not what I think the mindset should also be when you're going on a team. You just need to keep growing. But it's been amazing for me and anyone that's joining. I think this is where we're at. Carmen and I have talked about this a million times. This is the way that real estate is going. And, you better jump on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've been a solo agent 90% of my whole real estate career. I started initially on a team. That wasn't such a great experience for me. and it put a really bad taste in my mouth. Just ideas didn't match the way that I felt you should conduct real estate. It was like, here, sit in this class and learn the language of sales. And here's how you get over objections. And it just didn't mesh with me. So
Right.
I was a solo agent. I was a little hesitant to join this team just because of that experience. But, after sitting down and talking with them, I understand that they come from a different style. Like the ninja, we're ninjas, Ford, that whole thing is kind of the underlying premise of this team. And you've got to find your tribe.
For
Exactly.
sure, commonality. And before you answer, I want to just, for listeners that are unfamiliar, Logan's referring to the ninja selling system that's out of Fort Collins, Colorado, and can't recommend that installation enough for anybody who needs real estate training. It's the best I've ever been to, and I've been doing this 20 years. So go get yourself really good, solid fundamentals in learning how to be a better human, which is basically what that training teaches you. He's talking about Ford, acronym that stands for Family, Occupation, and Recreation and Dreams. So learning how to have good question asking skills to engage more people. So yeah, can't recommend it enough. Okay, so Carmin, why team?
Yeah, so like Logan, I also started on a team too, like only for 30 days. It was not very long. And I was really thrown off by the concept of a team from when I first started, because I thought it's just, a numbers thing and they don't really provide you with any value. That's what I thought. After talking about it with coaches and other realtors around the country, they were like, no, you can kind of create your own team and you can create your own culture and make it whatever you want it to be. When I started working with Hattie and I started thinking about what kind of team I wanted, it was going to be a team that provides value, not just, hey, join my team and look pretty next to me. No, it's more of like, I'm going to have you, I'm going to give you business. I'm going to teach you how to handle it. I'm going to give you coaching. I'm going to give you all the resources you need to be successful, which is something I did not have in that team. Yeah.
Nice. I love it. Well, and by the way, for people who can't see them because they're listening to this on the podcast, they are a pretty team. I will say that. I'll vouch for that. So that's going to work in your favor. So let's transition then just sort of to our last question. And then I'm going to ask you what else, if there's anything else you want to add to this. But I want to say having balance in real estate can be a difficult thing. As you all know, there are some people who work 24/7 and are unhealthy as a result. And there are others that don't take it seriously, right? They're at the other end of the spectrum. First of all, I guess the question is, do you feel like you have balance to get some time to yourself? And then if and when you've ever had it, how did you get it? How do you create that for yourself?
I'm happy to answer this.
Yeah.
So I always take care of myself first, because you could not help other people if you yourself don't feel good. And I figured that out really early in my career. Is I had to make sure, for me, it's important for me to feel good, look good, to feel confident in front of people. So I have to make the time to take care of me before I go out and take care of other people. Now, my schedule has changed a lot drastically over the last several years. So for me to take care of myself, I have to wake up early and do it early in the morning. And everything else is kind of scheduled out after that.
For sure.
That's exactly how I structure my days. My alone time, because our phones start ringing at 8:00, if not, I talk to clients earlier than that. Clearly we have some East Coasters or things like that, but I wake up at most of it 4:35 and I have 3 hours of alone time where I'm like, okay, here we go. We got to work out, you got to get ready, walk the dogs, take for the hour-long walk, so you can hit the ground running. And yes, throughout the day, there's things you can go do, and you do have your time, but I like to carve mine out. So I do have protected time because I know what my days are going to look like. And I look at my calendar, I'm like, oh, it's going to be a busy one today. So if I need any of that time to myself, and like Carmin said, to take care of yourself, I block it out. And you got to get up early. Early bird gets the worm always.
For sure.
I'm definitely learning that.
Yeah, Logan's catching on.
Yeah, I'm one of those realtors who wakes up at 9 o'clock, or I was, as a solo agent, and that phone rings at 8 o'clock. It rings all the time, and I've gotten so much busier than I'm used to. You have to have a little bit of structure in scheduling your alone time to get stuff done, and generally the best time to do that is in the morning. Do it in the morning. And the cool thing about being on a team is if you need to go somewhere, I've got 2 other realtors that are amazing that I trust that can handle my clients while I'm gone.
For sure.
Huge benefit.
Yeah,
I love that. I will say, and I think this will be no surprise to any of you, that I've interviewed a bunch of high producers on the show and will continue to do that. And there is literally no exception to this answer. So people who say I'm not a morning person, get over it. Because if you want to be a high producer, you're going to have to become a morning person. I mean, hands down, like honestly, there has been no exception to that, meaning get up enough time to take care of yourself, do your business, take care of your land. Because if you're saying I'm going to work out later, you're not going to work out later. Guaranteed, there's going to be some client that needs something, right? And that's going to be your priority. So, and I also feel like that whole airplane thing, and I'm going to mess it up, but you like put the oxygen mask on yourself first before you put it on your kid. It's like, that's the same concept. It's like, I can't really do great work for you, client, husband, dog, if I'm not also first taking care of myself. So I love that. Well, this has been a fun conversation. I always do the what else question. And that's just to say, if there's any other advice or comments or anything you want to add before we close out to the listeners, just from everywhere Northwest, awesome work, really great results. Thank you for your comments. I took notes, and there's questions that everybody gets when they listen to the podcast interview that are fun to answer because it's real meaty. So I appreciate your responses. But what else? Anything else?
Get a coach if you decide to go on your own. I said it earlier, but I mean, I cannot stress it enough. You have to learn from people that have done what you want to do.
Love it. For sure. Yeah, it's the Lone Ranger business, and it doesn't work when you try to just go figure it out on your own, right? Why reinvent the wheel? Yeah.
For me, and for any newer brokers that are listening, the single most powerful and career-changing thing I have ever done is surrounding myself with people you want to be like, brokers you want to be like, and having support from them. That will change everything.
I love it. Yeah. And it's so funny because what I was about to say is I know that everyone on this team is very busy, but if you're a newer broker and you call one of them and say, let's go have coffee or let's take a walk because I want to learn from you, I guarantee they're all going to say yes. So I did that. I just told everybody that they'd have coffee with you, but it's true. And I can see nodding heads here. And that's to say, everybody understands we need support. We need to run ideas by people and say, is this possible? What's happening in our world? So hey, Everywhere Northwest, so fun to talk to you. Thanks for being on the show. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much for listening into Pocket Hours. I hope this has been interesting, fun, made you laugh, made you think, spurred you on to do and implement some new things in your business. I appreciate your time and hope this has been a good use of it, period. Now, go be the agent you would hire.